Talk about wooden material technologies and wood processing. My name is Kārlis Ziediņš. Since prehistoric times, wood was the main building element. All was built using wood. But now we have moved away from that type of building material. Today, the biggest wooden structure made just from wood is the Sanctuary of Truth. This monument is located in Thailand, in the north of Pattaya. Its construction began in 1981 and it is planned to complete in 2025. The height of this construction is more than 30 meters and indoor space is more than 2,000 square meters. Inside, this structure is divided into 4 halls: Chinese, Buddhism, Hinduism and cosmology. Cosmology is the doctrine of the creation of universe and worship of its elements. It contains only wood-carved idols and sculptures. As they say, there are no nails used in that building. If we take a close look, we can see that wood structures deteriorate quite fast. So from far away, it looks very nice. If we come closer, we can see that those idols are quite rough, and wood that is used in those projects are not very hard and it deteriorates quite fast. From one side, it provides artists with consistent job, rebuilding each piece to be replaced over and over again. This was an introduction to this theme about wood technologies. If we are talking about modern wooden buildings that are constructed in nowadays, we are talking about skyscrapers. And the use of timber structures is transforming the world of skyscrapers. Now let's talk about traditional architectural practices in skyscrapers where steel and concrete still dominates. In recent years, 44 high-rise wooden buildings with height more than 14 floors or 50 meters have been built in the world. As we understand, all those wooden buildings that are below 50 meters height are not considered to be high-rise wooden buildings. So these buildings are not included in this schedule. This building that you can see now is Street skyscraper built in Norwegian city of Bergen in 2015. At that time, it was the tallest residential building in the world. The height of this building is 52.8 meters and there are 62 apartments in that building. Structures were made mostly of glued beams with waterproof glue, and concrete was used for 3 main floors which served as platform. Basically, in all wood buildings, we can say that you can't build high-rise building just from wood. You always need concrete base, it has to be solid, and every high-rise building has to have its backbone. And this backbone that holds this structure usually is elevator shafts and staircases that are built in concrete, and around those structures you can use wood or any other material that you can imagine. After 2 years, Brock's common tallwood house was built in Vancouver, in Canada, and it was the next highest building in the world. Building was built in record 70 days. Mostly it was built in a factory and just put together on site, so that's why it was so fast. The height of this skyscraper is 53 meters, just 20 centimeters more than Tree Tower in Bergen. This building has 18 floors. By the way, it's not a completely wooden building, since according to local regulations, wooden structures are not allowed in the construction of object that is higher than 6 floors. And as I told, concrete structures were used in most important parts of the building in terms of fire safety, staircases, elevator shafts, lobbies, etc. Now this building is used as a student residence. And here you can see the process of putting this structure together. So as you can see, those CLT panels are prefabricated in factory and just put together here on site. And above those panels you can see staircases and elevator shafts that are made in concrete. And from the street in a period of construction you can see that first floor is made from concrete, so this is a solid base above which you can see elevator shafts and staircase shaft, and around those high concrete objects there are wooden structures. So at the moment we can see those columns and CLT panels, and here you can see them close up. All windows are prefabricated and put together also here on site. Next highest wooden skyscraper was built in Austria, Vienna, was named Hochhaus, and it was built in 2019. Its height is 84 meters, so as you can imagine, it's 31 meters higher than Brooks Common Talbot House in Canada. This building has 25,000 square meters and number of floors is 24. About 75% of the building framework, facade, walls, interior decoration is wood in the form of plywood, and the rest is reinforced concrete and glass. I will remind you that reinforced concrete, it's when you put steel construction inside, let's say, concrete column, so it will have better properties and it won't break. And in case of glass, reinforced glass is when you break a glass and it won't hurt anyone, so it will just break in small pieces, so there will be no injuries if it will fall down from, let's say, upper floors. Here you can see that wooden building was constructed around a reinforced well made of concrete with elevator shafts and stairs, the same as in all other cases. And in interiors you can see that there are exposed columns and CLT plates that you can see on the ceiling. Next highest building is Mjøsa Tower, located in Brumunddal, that is 1.5 hour drive from Oslo. It was built in time period from 2017 to 2019, and its height is 85 meters, just 1 meter higher than Hochhaus. Supporting structure and facade of the tower are made using wooden materials, and structure consists of glued columns, beams, and diagonal elements. Those diagonal elements you can see in that picture. This element holds building structure together. First 10 floors are offices, hotel. Those are built from prefabricated wooden materials and elements, and the flooring of the upper stairs is made of concrete due to the increase of the amplitude of vibrations, as it is seismic region and concrete is more stable in those conditions. So in nowadays the world's tallest wooden building is this one, Ascent MKE, mass timber hybrid high-rise apartment building in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This 25-story mass timber structure is 87 meters high, 2 meters higher than Mjøsa Tower. It contains 259 luxury apartments, so you can see some visualizations here. And as well there is space for business, elevated pool and sky deck. And since it is the highest wooden structure in the world for now, I will tell you a little bit more about this building. There was an interview with architect. He told that being the tallest in the world was not the initial goal. There were problems with finding parking space for such a big building on streets. They managed to find additional parking spaces to meet those requirements of the multifamily parking in the city, so the project was able to add a few floors. And so suddenly they were within 1 meter of the Tower of Norway, Mjøsa Tower. So they added the roof construction and was higher than any other wooden structure in world. What is interesting, the height limits for heavy timber construction in Wisconsin is 26 meters, but there is a section in the International Building Code that basically allows for building higher structures, just it has to be coordinated individually. It means that architects and building company has to prove to the municipality that this building will have all the necessary properties that has to be for buildings in terms of fire safety, wind safety, earthquake safety, and so on. So the city required 3-hour fire rating for the columns as part of performances-based agreement. So the team worked with a forest products laboratory to optimize columns to meet this standard. So they passed this requirement, and as well they tested the CLT floor plates with 2-hour rating, meaning that components can burn for 2 hours without losing structural integrity. So after passing those regulations, they were able to build such structure from wooden materials. One more interesting thing, much of the wood was sourced from Austria because sourcing high quality supplies from North American manufacturers would have been too expensive. As well, architect mentions that wood exposures in the interior also had to be carefully considered. Sometimes several extra inches had to be added to the column for wood to be exposed. Often simply installing drywall was more efficient option, because if a column was in a bathroom or closet, there was no reason to expose the timber. Architect told that project used about 25% of on-site labor required for a concrete structure, and it was completed in about half of the time. This is all about highest wooden building in the world. And now let's pay attention to the future and let's take a look on those visualizations where you can see the next world's highest wooden structure that will be 100 meters high. One Danish company has won an international architectural competition for designing of the world's tallest wooden house that will be built in Zurich, in Switzerland. Construction work is scheduled to be completed in 2027, and the complex will be called the Rocket&Tigre. Here you can see some visualizations of these buildings' interiors. And this complex will consist of 4 buildings which will accommodate not only apartments but also a restaurant, retail space and a bar and a hotel. And for now architects are thinking about that every building has to have its own identity and expression, as well as independent access from the street and easy access to the inner courtyard. Daylight is optimized both in the public spaces and in the residential units, and a variety of green outdoor spaces is created in the inner courtyard and on the roofs of the buildings. As you can see in this visualization, timber structure will be connected with prefabricated facade systems that are reliable, flexible and easy constructible. So this is all about wooden buildings, And now let's talk about mass timber buildings and their properties, and also drawbacks that we have to consider.